Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Cough Country. It's Steve with your cannabis news. Guys, we're back at it again, doing the news because the news don't stop, and neither do we. I'm coming to you right now from the late night green set. It's going to be Cough Country's newest panel-style cannabis talk show. Lots of cool stuff happening there. It's coming soon, so definitely keep an eye out for it. But for now, let's check out what we got for you today. We start out with Kamala Harris sitting down with rapper Fat Joe. Why would that happen? Well, of course, I'm going to tell you that in just a minute. Then we're going to Governor Glenn Youngkin from Virginia. He just denied a bill that everybody voted for. Why would he do that? I'm going to tell you that too. And finally, the DEA did it, guys. They finally did it. They pissed off everybody in Congress. And I'll tell you why right now on Cough Country News.
No sticks, no seeds, just news.
From the Cough Country News Desk, it's Steve with your cannabis news.
Kamala Harris decided to host a roundtable discussion and have a little chat on marijuana policy and reform recently. She invited Fat Joe, the rapper and activist, to come in and moderate the thing, as well as Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear and a whole bunch of Joe Biden's marijuana pardon recipients to come in and discuss how the state of things and where it all should go. Now, most of the meeting was behind closed doors, but Harris's speech beforehand gave some pretty clear signals as to where they're going with this whole thing. So I sat down and watched it, so you don't have to. So let's break this little egg open. Check this one out.
I'm sure this is going to be a very impactful meeting to hear all your impactful stories. And we're going to keep this intimate, as I was asked. So, press, we thank you for being here, but...
Hold on, I'm going to give a statement too.
Okay.
Oh, hold on there, buddy. Now, I'm sure you're doing some wonderful things out there, Fat Joe, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. You're here as a political stunt guy. No one in that room cares about your opinion, okay?
We have gathered today, however, to address specifically the injustices that we have seen in federal marijuana policy. I have said many times, I think we all at this table believe nobody should have to go to jail for smoking weed.
All right, so she's parroting Joe Biden here when he did his marijuana pardons a while back, right? He said no one should be jailed for using marijuana. Now, social justice reform is a big part of cannabis reform for a lot of people, and they're trying to prove that they're working for those people, especially as many have pointed out, when Harris was a prosecutor, she was locking people up for marijuana. So the Biden-Harris ticket is trying to solidify their platform here.
First, I will tell you that we have pardoned tens of thousands of people with federal convictions for simple marijuana possession. And today we are joined by some of the pardon recipients so that we can have a conversation about what this has meant for them as a model and inspiration for what we must do for many others who are not at this table. And their stories, I will tell you, are proof of the importance of pardons and what it means in the life of an individual.
So here are those marijuana pardons again, right? They haven't been doing much for marijuana reform, so they don't have too many cards in their deck. So this is a big one they're pushing. They've got people here who receive pardons, but most who have said they didn't really do anything for them. They've still got records and, all the problems that comes with. So she's trying to make the pardons look as good as possible.
Second, we have issued a call to action for states to pardon these types of offenses, in particular on possession. That is why I've asked the governor of Kentucky to be here, Governor Beshear, who has basically pardoned and has addressed the convictions of people in Kentucky with simple marijuana possession convictions.
All right, yep. She's applauding the governor of Kentucky here because without the state governors joining in on the pardons, they're kind of a lame duck. You can be pardoned for federal offenses, but still remain in jail on state offenses. So it makes what they did look more legitimate.
Third, we have directed the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Justice to reassess how marijuana is classified under the federal drug schedule. And I cannot emphasize enough that they need to get to it as quickly as possible. And we need to have a resolution based on their findings and their assessment. But this issue is stark when one considers the fact that on the schedule currently, marijuana is considered as dangerous as heroin.
Okay, here's the big ticket item, right? The cannabis rescheduling thing. Biden's been going around already claiming a win on cannabis rescheduling, which, if it did happen, it'd be the biggest reform in 50 years. But she's also calling out the DEA here. There are rumors the DEA doesn't want to do it. And if they don't, it would be a huge blow to the Biden campaign, as he's really, really pulling for that marijuana vote. And losing that might mean losing the election. So she's putting the pressure on them by calling them out. I love it.
This issue is stark when one considers the fact that on the schedule currently, marijuana is considered as dangerous as heroin. Marijuana is considered as dangerous as heroin and more dangerous than fentanyl, which is absurd, not to mention patently unfair.
And that's just common sense, guys. And it's great to hear the Biden administration actually say it. So that's what happened. And I think they're sending a pretty clear signal as to where they are going with marijuana on this campaign. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to be back after a message right now.
This is cannabis. And this is cannabis. And this is cannabis. And this is cannabis. When you put them all together, you've got medicine.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around, but we got more news for you, so let's check it out. The Virginia governor vetoed a bill that would keep the state from calling marijuana use alone child abuse and neglect. Now, advocates have been trying to pass this legislation for years, and he told them that it actually had potential consequences that may expose children to harm and may jeopardize the well-being of vulnerable children. So the bill also said that drug testing for child custody and visitation would exclude legal substances like marijuana. But now that's not the case. He went on to say that it's a significant threat to child safety, allowing guardians to get away with things that they shouldn't. Now, this bill passed through the Senate almost with unanimous support in a state where marijuana became completely legal in 2021. So even though it's decriminalized, the courts are still denying custody and visitation based on marijuana use. Now, okay, to me, this seems like a pretty crazy thing to deny, right? I mean, these people are lawful users of cannabis in a legal state. To deny them parental rights because of it makes it seem like the governor is just confused by the laws in his own state. Now, I'm sure he's a smart guy, so that's probably not the case, right? I think it's more likely that this is about retaliation against the Democrats who support cannabis. So the governor's star project, right, has been building a sports arena that he said would provide 30,000 jobs and $12 billion in economic impact. He was so excited about bringing the Washington Wizards, the pro basketball team, and the Washington Capitals from hockey to the state. And he's been negotiating the deal for a long time. But when the budget came out of the democratically controlled Senate, there's no money for his sports complex. And he was super pissed about it, saying they were making a colossal mistake. And the very next day, he vetoed the bill protecting parental rights for marijuana use. So maybe he believes what he's saying, and maybe he's letting the democratically led House and Senate know, game on. And marijuana advocates are worried, right? I mean, cannabis might have been legalized in 2021, but because of political gridlock, they never established a recreational market. So you can possess cannabis, but you can't buy it or sell it. So cannabis is kind of in a limbo, you know? Democrats who led the push to legalize finally got enough support after all these years to put a cannabis sales bill on the governor's desk that would get the whole thing going. And now, especially after Youngkin vetoed the parental rights bill and is saying he's not interested in cannabis reform, they're afraid that all that hard work is going to go up in smoke and Virginia cannabis will be left in no man's land. So, unless the Democrats decide to give the governor a sports arena, they might not see legal cannabis sales for a while. Two bipartisan lawmakers, Earl Bloomhauer and Andy Harris, came together to write a letter to the HHS and the DEA, both asking them, what the hell are you doing, man? So these guys are on opposite sides of the fence when it comes to cannabis, right? So Earl over here is coming from Oregon, which is legal and progressive. He's one of the main guys that has been calling for marijuana reform. And Harris, though, is coming from Maryland, also a legal state, but he's telling everyone who will listen not to reschedule marijuana. It should be illegal. And yet, despite their differences, both of these guys agree the DEA and the HHS are dropping the ball pretty hard. And it's all over the Medical Marijuana and Cannabidiol Research Expansion Act. So it passed with pretty much universal support, right? And Biden signed it into law in 2022. It was meant to streamline and free up the process of studying marijuana. So federal prohibition means it's incredibly hard for scientists to study cannabis pretty much in any form. So the facts that any potential decision is going to be based on is severely lacking. And both sides of the aisle agree that we need more. Quote, the American public deserves to know the effect modern marijuana has on the human body. And yet here we are, well over a year later, and the federal agencies who are the gatekeepers to scientific research on the bad, scary cannabis plant have done such a good job at ignoring the law that was passed, the whole of Congress who passed the law in the first place is pissed at them. They basically read the law and went, nah, I'm not going to do that. And almost nothing has changed, despite a presidential directive to open up cannabis to research. The FDA has been sitting on over 150 research applications for cannabis studies while deadlines have blown past for action. And the DEA has done nothing to change its licensing requirement for cannabis research that can see scientists waiting years and years to get through all their red tape. And the HHS was supposed to submit a report to Congress 3 months ago about what was holding all this up. I don't know, maybe the dog ate their homework. So they said in a letter, quote, it is absolutely unacceptable that researchers continue to face harmful barriers to cannabis research after Congress expressly removed obstacles to research into this substance. Now they're knocking on these agencies' doors and they want answers. So while Earl and Andy are coming together here, they're still on opposing sides when it comes to marijuana. So both have separately written letters to the DEA urging them in different directions in their scheduling decision. All right, guys, thanks so much for checking us out. This has been Cough Country News. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow wherever you are. Tell your friends, because next time we're coming at you with news that's got no sticks, no seeds. Baby, it's just news. Thanks so much, guys.